Hi, have you ever heard of a victory garden? I firmly believe that if growing vegetables at home didn't work and wasn't cost effective, victory gardens never would have been a thing. On today's video, I'm going to help you know exactly how to save money on the food that you grow by growing these six very cost effective vegetables. It's almost like printing your own money, so stick around to find out. In today's video, I'm going to break down the top six most cost effective vegetables that almost anyone can grow because you don't need tons of space. All you really need is a backyard. And once you get dialed in on the cost savings that you can achieve with these, you're going to be off to the races and so excited. A lot of these are very, very popular and they're easy to grow. You don't need a ton of space to grow them. So, and that's why I've picked these for you today because they're super easy to grow and they don't require a ton of space. These six vegetables can help you slash your grocery bill while enjoying truly garden fresh produce. Let's dig in and start growing money in your yard. Now, the first vegetable I want to talk about are cucumbers. They are popular with grown-ups and kids alike, and there are a couple different varieties that are really popular right now, but the one that I want to focus on are snacking cucumbers. So, these small snacking cucumbers are all the rage, but with them comes a hefty price tag. So I went to my local rural Aldi discount grocer, which is where is where I did all of my pricing for this. And these small snacking cucumbers, a bag of organic snacking cucumbers will set you back $3.85, or actually no, $3.65 at the grocery store. That's the cheapest price I could find them for. And that's a pretty hefty price tag, especially when you can grow them yourself for a fraction of that cost. Let's look at the numbers. So you've got two plants. I use the mini munch variety. Two plants will fit in a single 10-gallon grow bag. The seed cost is 50 cents. So you have two 25-cent seeds. The seed cost for these is expensive, but it's because they're hybrids, and it's also because they don't require germination or they don't require fertilization of the flowers in order to bear fruit, which is good if you have to keep them under insect netting for any reason. So your seed cost, like I said, is 50 cents. Then you've got your soil and your container. We're going to call that $5. That's a one 10-gallon fabric grow pot along with over a cubic foot of soil. So you're going to reuse that in previous or subsequent plantings. But right now, we're just going to account for the cost up front in this first planting. So that's about $5. You're going to use 50 cents worth of fertilizer, and we're going to consider that your trellis is free. So you've got a total invested of about $5.50. And based on my information and my experience with yield, you could probably get so based on the yield information that I have, because I've grown these in the past, you can expect to harvest about 5 pounds off of each plant. That's a total of 10 pounds of cucumbers. Now, like we said, if we can get these for $3.65, you're going to spend $36.50 plus tax on the amount of cucumbers at the store that you could grow yourself for that $5.50 investment. So that's not a bad deal to invest $5.50 and get almost $40 back. And those are snacking cucumbers, and that's my first example. The second vegetable on my list of vegetables to grow are tomatoes, and that's specifically cherry tomatoes. A pint of organic cherry tomatoes costs about $3.85 at my local Aldi, so it's going to be worth it to grow them yourself if you can. This is going to be our setup, and let's look at the numbers. Now, some of the numbers look the same. In this example, quite a lot stays the same, and it will for our subsequent vegetables. We're going to all use the 10-gallon grow bag with that soil and that fertilizer, so that $5 stays the same. Now, for a total investment of 550, that's like we said was going to stay the same. You can find tomato seedlings at your local farmers market for a couple dollars. You might find them on Facebook Marketplace, but the costs do vary. So I'm going to add $5 to that just to cover everything that you might have to pay. So that's a total of about $10 at this point. Oh, gotta have some coffee. The average amount of cherry tomatoes you'll harvest off this plant is about, let's say, 9 pounds per plant, but you could easily harvest more than that. I just want to be really conservative with these numbers so that you know what to expect. So we'll use 9 pounds for our calculations. So our plant in that grow bag is worth specifically $34.65 plus tax. And if for this example, we'll just round up to $35. You've made $35 out of maybe $10. Now that's $10 at the maximum. you may be able to get those plants for cheaper, and you certainly will if you can grow them yourself. So you also, another benefit to this, taking $10 and turning it into 35, is that you don't have to go to the grocery store for these. These are in your backyard. You can just walk outside at any point and grab these, which is super awesome. So we're moving right along here, guys. We're making good time. Now, this does sound like we're making money, right? We're actually growing money. And that's kind of the point. Every single one of these vegetables that I've chosen for you today are ones that are going to give you a really noticeable impact on your budget. So this is not just something where you're investing a small amount of money and then you get maybe a little bit more in return. These are real benefits that you're going to see. So, our third crop that we're going to look at, and it's going to really make you feel like you're printing money, is lettuce. Uh, so, lettuce is a crop that is super easy and very cheap to grow, and you can grow lettuce in two different ways. So, you can plant the seeds directly in your garden, which is called direct sowing. You're going to put them where you want them to grow, cover them with soil, water them in, and they're going to start growing. You're going to harvest those leaves from the outside of each plant so that the leaves from the inside keep growing. And this is the most straightforward. It's the fastest way to grow lettuce. You're going to get thick bands of lettuce leaves that, like I said, you're just going to pick off from the outside of each plant, and the plants will continue to grow on the inside. So that's going to be, you're going to be able to harvest off these for weeks and weeks, if not months. And that's one way to do it. If you'd rather grow lettuce heads, which are full individual heads, you can do that. And the easiest way to make that happen is to seed those lettuce seeds in a tray, grow them indoors under grow lights, and then plant them out into your harvest bag. So I have a video about this where I show you exactly how to do it in real time so you know exactly how easy it is. So check that video out if you haven't seen it already. And again, you're going to harvest off of these almost as soon as you want because you don't really have to wait for lettuce to achieve a certain size before you can pick it. You know, you can pick baby leaves if you want. So this is something that you can pick at any time, or you can wait until the whole head is harvestable at about 55 to 60 days, and you can harvest it that way. Now that we know how you can grow those two ways to grow lettuce, let's look at the numbers and see how much you can save. So for this crop, we're going to look at both lettuce leaf mixes and head lettuce. Again, I'm going to use my local Aldi to get the best price humanly possible. And for a bag of organic spring mix, you can expect to pay about $5 per 12 to 16 ounce container. For a package of 3 organic romaine hearts, I'm seeing prices of around $4 a whole bag. So we're looking at about $4 to $5 per pound of lettuce, either mix or head. So now let's go back to our 10-gallon grow bag for these numbers. We're going to take the same bag, soil and fertilizer for $5.50. Those lettuce seeds are so seriously cheap that you could ignore the cost of them. But for the sake of consistency, I'll just add in a cost and say that they're 10 cents for a handful of seeds. That brings the total that you've invested to $5.60. In that grow bag, we can fit 5 individual lettuce heads if you're growing full heads, or you can put tons of them in there if you're growing for leaf lettuce. Either way, you're going to be able to harvest several pounds from that single grow bag over the course of several months. Okay, so we're talking, you know, maybe $30, $40 worth of lettuce from that single investment, and that lettuce is just going to keep growing. I have to, however, address the elephant in the room with lettuce, and that is that lettuce can bolt. It can get bitter if you live in a very hot climate. So, if you do live in a hot climate and your lettuce has gotten bitter, never fear. You can also use baby kale for that. So, I don't want you to sleep on kale. Kale might not be your favorite vegetable, but it's probably because you've eaten kale and bought it from the grocery store. And grocery store kale is notorious for being really thick stemmed, tough, bitter. It's not grown for taste, it's grown for transport. So I encourage you highly to grow kale in those hottest summer months when you can't keep the sun off of your lettuce. One of the things you can do if you're wanting to keep your lettuce as unbitter as possible, or as less bitter as possible, if that's a right way to say it, is to harvest it before the sun touches it. And that really works. Harvest it early in the morning and then dunk it in ice water immediately. That will help keep your lettuce from ever becoming bitter in the summertime. But if you've done that all and it's still super bitter for you, and you've tried a Muir lettuce, which is my favorite variety, Muir, is a lettuce variety for bitter lettuce, or it's been created to grow in the summertime. Try that. If you can't get that to work for you, or if it's still bitter in your climate, switch over to baby kale. You can plant kale and then harvest it at the baby leaf stage. It is so delicious. It is really sweet, and it holds up to the sun. It's more vigorous. It holds up to the sun better than lettuce, and so I think you'll have a great opportunity or a great experience with that as the option to switch over. And kale is another one that we'll talk more about down the list. And I think that if you pick that baby kale and use it as lettuce, you will be pleasantly surprised when it gets to a really hot spot in your calendar. So we're moving right along here. Our fourth vegetable is broccoli. So I keep broccoli growing year round in my gardens, and the broccoli type that I like for this comparison is sprouting broccoli. You can fit more plants into a container than regular heading broccoli. So if you use sprouting broccoli for this example, you are going to be able to get about 4 plants in your 10-gallon grow bag. If you use heading broccoli with the big heads, you'll get 1 plant because they take up a significant amount of space. So you'll find sprouting broccoli in your grocery store under the name broccolini. Okay, so it's called broccolini or sprouting broccoli, and a pound of organic sprouting broccoli. Prices vary a little bit, but if you can find it, it's usually between $6 and $8 a pound. So the great thing about sprouting broccoli for this example also is that sprouting broccoli heads they're small, but each plant puts up a ton of sprouting broccoli heads. So you can harvest off of these for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it is, it's just the crop it keeps on giving. And so since you're able to harvest multiple shoots off of that plant, your yield per plant is going to be about or it's going to be about a pound. And so if you've got 4 plants in that, if you've got four plants in your grow bag, and each of those is worth $6 to $8, we're talking anywhere from $24 to $32 worth of sprouting broccoli. Again, you didn't have to go to the grocery store for it. You can eat it raw in salads. You can roast it with a harvest salad. It's so good. But that broccoli is going to be such a beneficial vegetable for you that you're going to feel like you're printing money. And our fifth vegetable is kale. So I mentioned kale earlier as an option for lettuce during the summer months, but quite honestly, I grow kale year round, and it is a hardy brassica. It's related to broccoli. Some folks don't care for kale, like I said before, but the reason is because they have had kale from the grocery store. Please grow it yourself. The kale from the store can be tough and bitter, but when you grow it yourself, you can harvest it whenever you like, and that means the leaves are going to be more tender. So I recommend that when you're going to grow your kale, that you grow 2 varieties of kale. The first is a lacinato kale. It's a very flat leaf kale. That's going to be your substitute for lettuce. The other variety that I recommend that you grow is the blue curled Scotch kale, and it has the frilly leaves, and that is going to be good. It's going to be really good for roasting as kale chips. So my kids love when you put the oil on the kale leaves, you massage the oil all into it, put salt and pepper, and then crisp those up in the oven at like 350 or 375. They're so good. Anytime you want a salty snack and you're just kind of like watching TV and where you would normally reach for something else, these kale chips are such a great healthy snack. So I recommend you grow those 2 kinds of kale so you can do both of those things. And your cost savings. Let's look at your cost savings for kale. Your cost savings for kale is going to be similar to that cost savings that you found for lettuce, because your organic kale is going to be about $5 a pound. And seriously, kale is going to keep giving and giving for you for months. So you are going to be able to harvest several pounds of kale off of that single grow bag. And if organic kale is $5 a pound and you've got, let's say you've harvested 6, 7, 8 pounds of it through the course of 6 months, then you're really growing money at that point, because Not only is that $5.50 turned into 30 or 40, you still have the soil in your bag and all you have to do is top it off, add more fertilizer when that crop is done and start another crop of something. So, in that situation, as in all of these situations, any subsequent growing that you do is basically free because you've already paid for the grow bag and you've already paid for the soil. So, kale is so I want to tell you a little bit about how versatile kale is. You can use it, like I said, as those chips, the roasted chips, or you can eat them raw as like a leaf lettuce stand in. You also can put them in soups and stews. Anywhere you need a green that can kind of stand up to heat and cooking, that's when you're going to use kale. So I highly recommend it. I think you're going to love it. And our final vegetable on the list are peppers. So peppers are super easy to grow in grow bags. Those are actually peppers were the first thing I ever grew in grow bags. And I want to talk to you in this case, I want to talk to you about two kinds of peppers. The first kind of pepper is a bell pepper. So, bell peppers will grow in grow bags super well. And depending on how long your season is, you can expect to get 3 peppers off of each pepper plant, and that's each week. So 3 peppers per plant per week throughout your growing season. And in my store right now, kale or kale. Uh, in my store right now, peppers are about $1 per bell pepper. And so if you're harvesting, if you have 1 pepper plant and you've invested maybe your seedling cost $2, maybe you've got 7.50 or $8 invested in that grow bag, but you have harvested 40 peppers that you would have paid $1 each for, then you've got $40 coming out of that bag for a minimal investment. And so, again, it's like if you are able to do that, I highly recommend it. That's just for bell pepper. If you can also grow another kind of pepper, I would recommend the snacking peppers because you can actually, those are worth a little bit more. So you can get an even bigger bang for your buck when you do that. So you can fit, let's look at the numbers for this. If you go to the grocery store, again, my local discounted Aldi, you will cost those out at about $5 per pound for organic snacking peppers. And so 2 snacking pepper plants are going to give you 10 to 15 pounds of those peppers throughout the season. And that's $60 worth of peppers for an investment of about $6, right? You can get a pepper plant for about $1 if you look around on Facebook Marketplace or if you know someone who's growing them. Bonus points if you grow it yourself. So you're taking a $6 investment and you're turning it into $60. And I love a 10-time investment. I will take that all day long. They're delicious. You can pack them in lunches. You can eat them on salads. They are so, so good. And some of my varieties, I want to give you some information about my favorite varieties. My favorite varieties for peppers are California Wonder for bell pepper, and you can save those seeds because that is an heirloom or open pollinated variety. And I also like the Sweetie line from Territorial Seeds for snacking peppers. And they have the red Sweetie, the yellow Sweetie, the orange Sweetie. So you can pick whatever you like. If you like the red ones the best, then only grow red. If you want all of them, then grow all of them. And just a note for you, they all start out green as they're growing. So all of those peppers will be green, but as they ripen, if you give them about 10 extra days, they'll ripen into whatever color that they are. So your red ones will start as green and then they'll turn to red and so on and so forth. So there you have it. That was a lot of talking. Thank you so much. I needed to get through this. I recorded this video last night, but the audio was not right, so I had to redo it. So I'm moving along pretty quickly. So watch again if you need to catch any specific spots, and I'll make sure to put chapters in this video. Growing vegetables really is like growing money in your backyard, but it has to be the right ones, the right vegetables in the right way. And I want to make sure that you all know exactly what that is and that you go into this primed for success. And so you can save from just these 6 easy to grow vegetables, you can save like $200 off your grocery bill and over the course of some months there. And it's really fun to grow. You're getting out into nature, you're getting some vitamin D, and you're reducing your food bill. And remember, the calculations that I have in this video are conservative. So you could harvest even more than what I've got here. And so your savings would be even greater. So thank you so much for being with me. As always, I know you could be anywhere and you chose to be here with me, and I really appreciate it. Bye for now.